Okay, Robert back here. Built this old lantern vise a few years ago. I done a video on it, showing it, explained how I made it, but I've never made one on video. And now I'm going to kind of upgrade. This is just for a 220 size, and I'm going to try to make one for multiple size lanterns. It has little rings in it. Don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'm going to try. But I'm going to show you all how you can build your own lantern vise for less than $20. Okay, I've already started this off camera. I've already cut my board to 2 separate pieces, and I've traced out 3 different lantern sizes on there. So that's pretty much self-explanatory, just tracing. But here's the parts you're going to need. You're going to need the wood, Peddler's Mall. You can buy sheets of this wood. It's somewhere 11.5 inches wide, about 6 foot long. You can buy these for $4.98 a sheet. One sheet will probably do 3 vices if you wanted to. Okay, you're going to need 2 pieces of 1 foot all thread. I'm using a 1/4 by 20. I mean, you can use whatever size you want. A 1/4 20 thread, and these are $2 a piece. You're going to need actually 2 of these T-post, 1/4 inch 20 thread again. You're going to need 2 of those, and those are 95 cents a piece, I think. You're going to need a couple of wing nuts, 1/4 inch 20 thread, and I think I paid also 95 cents a piece for these. They were out of zinc coated, so I had to get these black ones. They're a little more expensive, so you can get these cheaper. You may already have some laying around in your shop. So 2 of those. So that's pretty much all the parts you're going to need, except little wood glue and maybe some brads or staples or wood screws, one or the other. Like I said, total cost is less than $20, not much more than 15. Okay, like I said, I've already traced out everything. I'm drawing a line on my center point, and I'm just going to put this on my chop saw, and I'm going to chop that all the way across. Okay, I forgot to mention, you're going to need a scrap piece of 2 by 2 or something similar. It doesn't have to be an exact size. Matter of fact, this is an even ripped square. I mean, it's a little thinner on one end, but as long as it sits flat against that board is all you need. So I mean, this is going to clamp down inside your bench vise, so that'll work. Okay, y'all can use whatever you want to cut this out. You can use a bandsaw, a jigsaw, Coleman saw. Myself, I'm going to be using a scroll saw. I mean, whatever you want to cut it, it's up to you. I want to cut the smallest diameter circle first. Okay, my cuts are far from perfect, but that's okay, because with a drum sander, you can fix it. Okay, right there is a perfect fit for the 220. For the 200, but I'm going to sand just a little more off that because I want room for a piece of leather in there. Okay, got that a little bit loose there, but that's okay because, like I said, I want to put the leather in it. That leather will take up space, and if it's still a little too loose, you can always take your saw and take the width of the saw blade, like 1/8 of an inch, off of each section of that, and that will allow it to close in tighter. Again, like I said, these cuts don't have to be perfect. There's an old saying, it's not how good of a carpenter you are, it's how well you can cover up your mistakes. So if it's not cut perfect circle, that one don't look too bad. That one's a little off there, but like I said, you can take it over to the drum sander and sand out your mistake. Okay, there's the 220, and it's just a little bit loose, but by the time I get my leather in there, that'll pad it up a little bit, keep it from scratching the paint. And like I said, we can always go back and cut a little off the edge. Okay, the last cut is going to hold the Sears and the Model 275 turd nicely. Okay, now's the fun part. Got to figure out where I'm going to drill my holes. I think I'm going to come 1 inch from each side. Yeah, 1 inch. I want to transfer my side mark to the end. I'll do that just by holding my speed square on the line. Tell y'all, I'm not a carpenter. I mean, this is the way I'm doing it. If it works for me, it might work for you. I know there's 1,000 different ways to do this, but these layers in this wood are all even. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just going to go in the center of that center one there. Make a little mark where I'm going to drill. Same thing on this one. And I'm going to be drilling these holes a little bit bigger around than my all thread, so we have a little wiggle room anyway. Okay, I know this is wood, but I'm still going to use a center punch to get my pilot hole started. Okay, I'm holding my wood in a little vise there. I'm going to drill a pilot hole with a little smaller drill bit. Okay, you can only use drill bits so long, so I've got them in there deep enough. I can feed it on through by hand and keep it straight. Okay, now I've switched over to a longer 3/8 inch drill bit. And like I said, now that I've got my pilot holes in there, even without it being in a vise, I should be able to drill it fairly straight. Now I got a piece of 2x2 under there. Raise it up a little bit. Hopefully I can drill down a little deeper. Okay, I've drilled most of the way through. Now, my drill bit's not hurried long enough, so I loosened the chuck and dropped the drill bit down where I'm just barely biting on the end of the drill bit. And that should give me enough to barely get through the other end. Let's see how we did. There's one that's going to work. Cross your fingers. Alright. Both dowel rods going all threads going all the way through. That's what we wanted. Okay, somewhere in this area on each side, we're going to cut a little slot and put a Chicago bolt in there so that we'll put it in there loosely so that it will be able to slide back and forth, but at the same time not be able to raise up. So our dowel rods, or I keep calling it a dowel rod, our all thread is at 1 inch. So let's go with 1.5 inches. Let's just say 2 inches. 2 inches down, we'll make our first hole. And we'll go 2.5 for a second one. It'll give us a 1/2 inch of slide once we cut our slot. just for the sake of having to move this camera back and forth to the drill press, I'm just going to drill these by hand. Okay, I'm going to try to draw a straight line on each side of those holes. Okay, I got in a hurry. They're not perfect, but they will serve the purpose. Okay, now I got to drill a hole through my bottom board. Okay, at this point, I want to attach my board into the bottom that will go into the vise. It don't have to be perfect, but this is 11 and right at 11 1/4. So 5 3/4 should be somewhere around my center point. Okay, I want to hide those screws, so I'm going to move it somewhere roughly 1 inch from each end. Okay, I want to countersink the screw heads. I don't have a countersink bit handy, so I'm just going to use this 5/16. Okay, I went ahead and drilled one more hole in the middle just for safekeeping. We're going to put in these Chicago bolts. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite in here. Well, set a little bit and I drowned it. That's about right on camera. Okay, I use the Loctite in those because we are not tightening those all the way up. We're just putting those flush against the board, and that will allow, I made a mess with that stuff. That will allow it to slide back and forth without lifting up. I mean, that's the only purpose. I just keep them from lifting up, but you still need to have play, slide back and forth. So, I mean, that'll work. The Loctite, since you're not tightening them down, the Loctite will hold them in place. Not sure how the camera's going to pick it up, but I've marked 4 holes, 1.5 inches in, so I'll clear the all thread, and 1 inch from each end piece. And I'm going to pre-drill that. I use these clamps to hold everything flush where I want it while I pre-drill before I put my glue in. Again, I'm going to countersink. I'm going to take a little sandpaper and rough that up just a little bit. Next step, gotta add a little more Loctite to your ends of your all thread. Okay, these T-nuts have a couple of holes in them. Got these little brads. They're brass, but that's okay. It's what I've got handy. Use whatever. You can use screws if you want to. You don't even need a hammer. Just taking that punch, just mashing them right down in there. And that will keep your T-nut from turning when you turn your wing nut on the other end. Alright, those are set. Okay, there's what the spacers are going to look like once I get the leather on them. Just glue it on with a hot glue gun. Put slices around the top and glue each piece down as it allows it to stretch and take the round shape. So I'm going to keep on working on that and I'll get back with you when I'm done. Okay, it's complete. Set this down in your vise. Tighten it down. Okay, the vise by itself holds the sears and the 275 securely in place. No problems. Now later on I'm going to go back and add a little piece of leather around that outside of that to keep from scratching paint, but as of right now I don't have a need to do that because the old sears is pretty rough shape the way it is, so I'm not worried about the paint on it. Anyway, put in our adapters. First set, that's our 220 size. Securely in place. Okay, for our 200, put in the second set of adapters. Securely in place. Okay, if y'all like these kind of videos, be sure to like, share, subscribe. God bless.